At work or at home, you will have a bunch of devices. These are things like computers, printers, TVs, and so on. And you connect all of these together by means of a network. Now, for all these devices to communicate, they do need to be connected together somehow. Now, one way is to plug cables into all these devices and connect them to another special device called a switch. I'll explain switches a bit later on. For now, just think of a switch as some networking equipment that we use to connect things together. Let's take a little time now to think about how we connect our devices to this switch. Think of a computer lab in a school. The switch that these devices connect to, these computers, will likely be in a different room, or maybe it's mounted up on a wall somewhere. In either case, the computer in the lab will connect into the network by using a wall socket. Another cable from behind this wall socket will run through the wall to another location. This then connects to something that we call a patch panel, and you can see one here on your screen right now. As I said before, this may be in a cabinet somewhere on the wall, it might be in the same room, or it might be in another room entirely. So each wall socket that we plug a computer into connects back to one of these ports on the patch panel. We can then connect each of these ports directly into the switch. Now that's one of the ways that we can keep our cabling nice and tidy and organized. You might even have a switch at home. Most homes don't have the luxury of wall sockets, so often we have devices directly connected to the switch. Remember, of course, though, there's a lot more detail to switches. I will tell you a bit more about those in future as we get to that. Devices can also be connected together wirelessly. A common way to do this is with a wireless access point. A wireless network like this is often called Wi-Fi. An example of this is when you're using your phone. It's really impractical and often impossible to cable it into your network, so wireless is by far your best option. The access point, that is the wireless access point, is basically the same thing as a switch, but it doesn't use cables. More than one device can connect to the access point at a time, but we don't have all the messy cabling that we get sometimes with a switch. We can also connect a switch and an access point together with a cable. In this way, devices that use cables, that are wired devices, can also be a part of the same network as devices that don't use cables, that is, wireless devices. So having both wired switches and wireless access points gives us more connection options. For example, imagine that you have a laptop and you're working in an office. You may connect it to the network using a cable when you're sitting down at your desk where you do most of your work. But sometimes you'll need to give a presentation in the boardroom. And for this, when you have this meeting in the boardroom, you remove the cable and you connect your laptop to Wi-Fi. So you don't have cables connected everywhere, which makes things a lot easier for you as a user to connect to the network.